Good morning. It is Sunday, April the 17th, almost 8 o'clock a.m. This is Shay Gibson with Weather Flow and Sail Flow, and this will be your final video forecast for the Sperry Charleston Race Week 2016. So we wish the racers the best of luck as they head into their final events today. It's going to be lots of sunshine, beautiful day for sailing. It's going to be some decent winds out there. So we have high pressure expanded to the north. A separate lobe of high pressure is developed over the Appalachians, just like we saw yesterday morning. It's providing a north-northeast flow. As time goes on, this high pressure may erode a little bit to the north and open up that flow, a little bit more for that northeast flow to occur. And then we still have an opportunity for east-northeast sea breeze coupling in the afternoon as we get some of those thermals lifting inland and we get that sea breeze oscillation along the coastline. So that's very much a possibility today. We're keeping moderate numbers as we head into the afternoon. So let's take a look at GRE on radar. Here's that low pressure out in the Atlantic. It's occluding more of a mid-level feature with some surface features, but nothing to really be concerned about. The main thing is that we have dry air over our area, which keeps the sunshine going for another afternoon. It looks really good out there. As we head into the afternoon, looks like our temperatures are going to top out right around 70 degrees inland. That means for our sea surface temperatures along the harbor and offshore, we're looking at 63 degrees. So that will keep the air temperatures in check right around the mid-60s versus the 70 inland. So over the marine zones, we're looking at mid-60s for the temperatures. Now let's take a look at the flow vis for sail flow. We can get a better idea of what those winds are doing right now at 8 o'clock a.m. And we have this north-northeast flow sort of offshore. Now as time goes on and the sun heats things and we get that sea breeze build, we start to see the winds bend a little bit more northeast and then east-northeast and sort of bend a little bit more easterly into the harbor. So that's going to be pretty much the forecast for today. We see these moderate to strong gales out here offshore in association with that low. The gradient's really much more out this way, and as that heads east, it'll take the gradients off with it. So let's take a look at Datascope for the Charleston area. And Fort Sumter, I'm going to take Fort Sumter Front Range Light as our point here, and high tide is going to be at 11:41 a.m. at 0.31 feet, so a bit above normal as we head into neap tiding this week on a waning phase, waning lunar phase, I should say, and then these tides sort of become closer together. But what I'm concerned about is the ebb flow. So if we look a little bit northwest of Fort Johnson, where most of the sailing is going to be going on, our surface current is expected to be right about 2 knots. So here's your ebb current at 9:55 a.m. during the races. So that'll be your surface current if you want to gauge the winds. With an opposing wind against that current on the outgoing tide, it's going to create some chop out there. So a little bit of concern for that, but with the winds being a little bit on the lighter side around 11 to 15 this morning, it should be okay. So let's take a look at the winds for the Charleston area. I'm just going to zoom in. Right now we're at 11 knots in near the Fort Sumter Front Range Light. That's where our sensor is, and it looks like that's just come up a little bit to 13 knots. Now as we head into the day, it looks like we got a little bit of a build coming, and we're already seeing that start to lean out a little bit more to the northeast. As the sun comes up, we'll see that direction actually lean a little bit more this way. So and that's what I was talking about earlier with the sea breeze coupling. Right along the beaches, these winds will start to bend more northeast, and as we've seen the last 2-3 days in a row, a little bit more east-northeast, and then becomes a little bit more easterly into the harbor. Once we get that funneling effect into here, you get your wind streeting along this landmass here, just northwest of Fort Johnson, and in between Chutes Folly and James Island. This is where your wind street will be. Now the winds may not make it all the way to the east. We may keep a northeast to east-northeast flow inside the harbor, but with the opposing tide, again, what I said about that opposing wind, you may get a little bit of chop in this area right in here. So just a little bit to be concerned about. The forecast for today is going to be 12 to 16 knots inside the harbor with potential for 13 to 17 should we get that sea breeze coupling in the afternoon and the shoreline becomes more of a 14 to 18 knot build. The harbor usually stays a little bit lower than that. So that's kind of what to expect. Let's look at the models for guidance real quick. I always like to see what they say. Sometimes we get a little bit of guidance from the higher resolution model, the high resolution rapid refresh, or the HER3 in the red here, and then the NAM 5K I tend to look at for these particular wind events. I like to see what they're saying. So they both mentioned the HER3 keeps this east-northeast build sometime after 2, sometime between 2 and 5 p.m. before the winds let out. So the HER3 is picking up on that. The NAM 5 picks up on that east-northeast wind a little bit later. So the model guidances for speed keep them right around the mid-teens, which means that they usually don't catch the speeds right on, and we could be seeing upper teens by this afternoon along the Isle of Palms Pier. So that's what this reading is for. That means inside the harbor, we're still looking at mid-teens, mainly mid-teens. Might see a few upper teens pulses and maybe even near 20 knots. So that can't be ruled out as the day heats up. So we're looking at that starting around 10 or 11 o'clock a.m. to start seeing some of those peak values show up in over the waters. So I think that's going to do it for this report. So best of luck out there today. It's been great to help out with these video forecasts, and hopefully you've been able to use them to your advantage out there. Until next time, best of luck and take care. I'll see you soon.